What happened to Jungkook? Why did he suddenly seem agitated and couldn't hide his emotions after hearing one sentence from Taehyung? Is it about their past, or something deeper? The army is now beginning to wonder, is there a secret that has been hidden? Jungkook looked agitated after Taehyung's statement. Anything to hide? What did Taehyung actually say to Jungkook that night? Why is it that just seconds after Taehyung whispered, Jungkook's facial expression instantly changed? Why did his eyes seem to be glazed, his hands clenched into fists, and the smile that was originally fluffy just slowly disappeared? Is there something they've been hiding from the army? Something too painful to talk about on camera? These questions now hang in the air, enveloping the fandom in an enigmatic haze. That night, in an initially warm and supportive moment leading up to Taehyung's return to his military duties, the atmosphere suddenly turns quiet. The camera captures meaningful moments. Taehyung rests his hand on Jungkook's shoulder, brings his face closer, and whispers something. No one knows for sure what it says, but the effect is too obvious to ignore. Jungkook suddenly couldn't look directly at Taehyung. He lowered his head, bit his lip, and in the next few seconds, it looked like he was holding back tears. What did Taehyung really say? Is this just an ordinary emotional breakup between two friends who respect each other? Or is there an old wound that has opened up again and has never been revealed before? Some soldiers even claim to have seen Jungkook wipe his eyes quickly as the camera switched angles. And as the photo session continued, Jungkook appeared more still. In fact, before he looked energetic, laughed a lot, even joked with the staff. Is this just a coincidence? Or is there something that really shakes his heart? Not a few speculated that Taehyung said something related to the future of BTS, or even about their personal relationship. Some believe that this could be the last moment of confrontation before the two return to military life, separated and unable to contact each other freely. If there really is something to hide, why now? Why wait until the last minute to say goodbye? Armies around the world reacted quickly. The timeline is full of speculation. Fan theories appear at the speed of light. Some are convinced that Jungkook is harboring guilt. Some believe that Taehyung knows something that no one knows, not even the other BTS members. Is it about feelings? About the past? Or maybe about a big decision that will change the direction of BTS's journey forever? The more disturbing question is, why does Jungkook's reaction feel so emotional? He is not an easy person to show his feelings in public situations. But that night, it was as if he didn't care who was watching. He's not trying to hide it. Even when the staff tried to divert the atmosphere with jokes, Jungkook still looked different. His eyes were still blank, his thoughts clearly not in the room. Does this mean? Taehyung's words touched something very deep. Some observers who have been following the dynamics of the relationship between BTS members for a long time say that the relationship between Taehyung and Jungkook is always special. They are not just co-workers, but two personalities who grew up together, passing through global pressures as K-pop idols. They experience the world from within the same golden cage, perfect on the outside, but actually full of hurt and inner conflict. On many occasions, the two are often silent, but meaningful to each other. And that night, when Taehyung's last words came out, it was as if their world was shaking. But why did Taehyung choose to say that at the last moment? Is this some kind of farewell message? Or is it ultimatum? Some rumors suggested that Taehyung had long held a grudge against Jungkook, something they never discussed publicly. But is it really so? Or is this just a misunderstanding magnified by a moment full of emotions? What gives even more goosebumps is that, after the moment has passed, Jungkook is seen walking alone out of the room, refusing to immediately join the others. Even when the members tried to embrace and encourage him, he seemed speechless. Look into his eyes. It's like saving thousands of words that can't be said. What's really going on behind the scenes? Is this the beginning of something bigger? Is BTS, as we know it, on the verge of drastic change? There is speculation that Taehyung said something about the future of the group, something that only the two of them know about. A statement that may relate to a personal decision or a plan with which not everyone agrees. It could be that Taehyung insists that he will do something after the military, and that makes Jungkook waver. Is it about a solo career? About leaving the group? Or even about personal feelings that have been held back? To be sure, the army is now made anxious, sad, and confused. Because when Jungkook gets hurt, they feel it too. And when Taehyung speaks mysteriously, they can't stop looking for meaning. And no one knows for sure what Taehyung whispered that night. But the world is now saving breath, waiting, wonder. Because one sentence can change everything. Did I ask this a sign of a split? Or rather, the beginning of the most emotional confession in BTS history. And if there really is a big secret that has been kept, is the world ready to accept it? ARMY, those of you who know them more than anyone, how did you feel seeing that moment? Do you feel the same vibration? Did you catch the sadness in Jungkook's eyes? Do you guys feel that this isn't just another breakup? That night seemed to be an invisible performance of the drama of the lives of two friends who were at war with reality. On the one hand, there is responsibility. On the other hand, there are unresolved feelings. Did I ask this just the beginning of a more complex story? Will there be an honest confession later? And when that day comes, is the world ready to know everything? Because if Jungkook can talk carefree, could it be that the tears would fall more profusely? And if Taehyung talks back, will he reveal the truth that only the two of them know? We can only wait. But one thing is certain. That night, nothing will ever be the same again. But are you really ready to know what happens after that? Because what appears on the surface is only the beginning of a story that is much deeper, more complex, and more painful than we can imagine. After that moment of mysterious whispering, the whole atmosphere in the room changed. It wasn't just Jungkook who became different. Even Taehyung seemed calmer than usual, as if he had accomplished something he had long wanted to say. But what? Why now? And why after that? None of them spoke. An internal source who chose not to be named revealed that a few days before Taehyung returned to his military camp, he and Jungkook had met in person. No camera. No staff. Just the two of them. And according to this source, their conversation lasted more than 2 hours in a very serious and tense atmosphere. No laughter. No hugs. Just a deep silence. Then came one sentence from Taehyung that is said to be the core of all Jungkook's anxiety that night. Don't wait for me. This sentence, although simple, carries a deep and painful meaning. What does that phrase mean? Is Taehyung conveying a message about the future of their relationship? Is it about a commitment he can't fulfill? Or rather, about a big decision that can't be undone? Imagine how Jungkook felt hearing that. For many years they were together. Through laughter, wounds, media pressure, rumors, and silence that only they understand. Then suddenly, in the moment leading up to the breakup, Taehyung says, "Don't wait for me." Does that mean despair? Rejection? Or protection? This question began to haunt every fan who watched their interaction that evening. And when the video of the recording was uploaded by the fan site a few hours later, thousands of comments instantly flooded the timeline. Many expressed concern. Many can only cry. Even some soldiers from abroad said they were devastated because it's not just about two idols, it's about a bond they've shared for years, and like a time bomb exploding silently, the effect of that one sentence didn't just devastate Jungkook that night, but it's also starting to affect everyday fandom. The army, which was usually solid, is now beginning to split. Some defended Taehyung, saying that he was trying to keep his distance for the common good. There were also those who defended Jungkook and regretted Taehyung's attitude that was considered too cold in the most fragile moment. But is that really all? Some more detailed fan analysis even suggests that Jungkook's reaction that night was similar to his expression at losing someone meaningful. It's not just sad. He looked broken. Then is this about love? Did Jungkook and Taehyung ever bond over being best friends? And was that night the end of it all? Of course, no one can answer for sure. No one knew what was in both of their hearts. But the expression cannot lie. And that night, Jungkook's expression said it all. He's not playing a role. He's not trying to create drama. It really is struggling to stay strong. Taehyung, on the other hand, seemed calm. But the calm was uncharacteristic. He looked like someone who had just made a big decision. His eyes did not look at anyone directly. It was like he was moving away, slowly but surely. And the next day, as if nothing had happened, they each returned to their routine. Jungkook does his usual dance exercises, but the army who knows him knows. His movements are no longer as alive as they used to be. Taehyung returned to the military camp with a flat face. Even when greeted with a warm smile from the officer, he simply nodded wordlessly. The question is this just a pause or an end? A few days after the mysterious whispering moment, a deep silence was felt not only between Jungkook and Taehyung, but also within the entire ARMY community. Social media is suddenly silent from the interaction of the two of them. No shared posts. There are no reciprocal comments. No story reposts as usual. It was as if, overnight, their two worlds were separated by something unbridgeable, but the strangeness doesn't stop their point one of BTS, longtime staffers, who also did not want to be named for professional reasons, secretly uploaded a post that was quickly deleted, but was immortalized by fans. The content is one short sentence that immediately caused an uproar. If you knew what Taehyung whispered that night, you would never see them the same way again. What does that mean? Does that mean any big secrets they've been hiding? And if that's so, why did Taehyung choose to say it that night? In front of the camera? In the presence of thousands of pairs of eyes that would not miss a single second of their interaction, some well-known fan site analysts in Korea began to dissect the video footage in high resolution. They slowed down the moment of the whisper, watched Taehyung's every move, and the result, shocking. One of the video footage shows that Taehyung seems to say 4 words that are very similar to, "It's not your fault." "It wasn't your fault," simple sentences. But when juxtaposed with Jungkook's facial expression afterwards, which immediately turned drastically pale and transfixed, everything became more complex. If it's not Jungkook's fault, then who? What happened? And why did Taehyung have to convince her in such a way? Some fans speculate that this incident may be related to a past event that was never publicly announced. There is a theory that in 2023, just before they decided to take a hiatus from the group's activities, there was a big internal conflict. Some witnesses said that there was a closed-door meeting between BTS members and HYBE's agency that lasted almost 7 hours. The growing issue is that the meeting happened because one of the members rejected a certain contract, and that decision almost broke their formation. And now, after seeing the interaction between Taehyung and Jungkook, some fans are connecting the dots of what used to be just rumors. Was Jungkook the one who almost left the group? And Taehyung, did he stop it? If so, then that night's whisper became even more heartbreaking. It's not your fault. Like a confession. Like an apology. Like the cover of an old wound that never heals. But why now? Why on a night that should have been filled with joy, Taehyung chose to dig the wound back? Returning to the public routine, after that moment, the fans realized one more big change. Jungkook, who is usually expressive on Weverse, suddenly didn't post anything for 4 days. Taehyung, who even while in the regular military appeared on a special military platform, also did not give any news. This silence further reinforces speculation that something really serious is going on, and the peak happened a week after that moment, when a major brand event that Jungkook was supposed to attend was cancelled unilaterally, citing the artist's impossible emotional state. The rumors exploded uncontrollably. Some gossip reporters began to link this event to Taehyung's whispering moment. Some even claimed that Jungkook had experienced an emotional breakdown after returning to the dorm. One fan who is known to have connections with the backstage staff said that Jungkook cried alone in the studio where he used to practice for almost an hour. And even more surprising, the song he turned on over and over again was an old song he used to sing with Taehyung at We Live for a Clock. A song that tells of longing, loss, and waiting in silence. The ARMY doesn't need a long explanation. They know. They can feel. This is no coincidence. Then suddenly, a new post appeared. From an anonymous account on Twitter claiming to be a former trainee, HYB, complete with photo proof of old ID and chat with fellow trainees who are verified. The post said that since 2017, Jungkook and Taehyung's closeness has been a sensitive internal issue, The two of them, according to this source, once received a direct warning from management for being together too often outside the schedule, even leaving the dorm quietly in the middle of the night. And even more astonishingly, this account claims that in 2020, during the pandemic, there was a personal incident that made them almost completely move away. However, the one thing that binds them remains together, according to the source, not popularity, not a contract, but they care about each other, save each other. And now, if all of a sudden Taehyung opens it even just in a whisper, does this mean that he can no longer keep it hidden?